Hello and welcome back to round 9 of Inside the Clinch. What is up, my boy Eric? How you doing?
Hey Johnny, happy New Year, happy 2021. Glad to see you, man.
Happy New Year to you and your family. How'd you spend it this year?
We just got together upstate with the family, pretty low key. Just had some food, had some drinks, watched the ball drop, nothing too crazy. How about you?
Yeah, I had a pretty chill New Year as well. Didn't do much. Just spent it with the family. The world is pretty crazy right now with all the news going on. It's currently January 6th. We're recording this on what is it right now? 7 p.m. And the world is going crazy. So me and Eric are gonna try to make the best of it this next 45 minutes or so. So this is gonna be a fun one.
Yeah. So we're starting the new year. We got a lot of good events to look forward to. We have three events in 1 week at Fight Island. So thank you UFC for that. So we're gonna kind of break through, I guess, the main events and the big fights and those cards. So to start off, we're gonna discuss Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway in the featherweight division. In my opinion, this is a perfect matchup for both of these fighters at this time. Where they are in their careers, just ranking wise, everything just makes sense. Uh, One of the most notable things is this is Max's first non-title fight in 4 years, so that's going to be different for him. Although thankfully, this fight is still going to be 5 rounds, so that will hopefully play into his favor. Calvin Kattar is another one that's been looking phenomenal as of late. He's been developing his skills. He's been, just has that crazy knockout power. So how do you see this one going, John?
Yeah, so first of all, the betting odds right as of right now, Max Holloway is a slight favorite at minus 150. Calvin Kattar is at plus 130. Another thing to note about this event, the first event of the year, is that it's going to be televised on ABC. It's going to be the first televised UFC event since 2018, which was on Fox. So that's something pretty cool. So if you guys want to watch it, you can watch it either through ESPN as you have been doing previously, or you can watch it on ABC. So about the fight itself, I think this is a phenomenal fight. Max Holloway never has a boring fight.
Yeah.
Calvin Kattar is also very explosive. They're both very high IQ fighters, very explosive fighters, very technically sound fighters. So I think this is going to be a war, whichever way it goes. I feel like this is going to end up in a decision. I'm gonna side with Max Holloway in this fight. I think Max Holloway just the experience. I'm not saying Calvin Kattar is not an experienced fighter, but just look at Max Holloway's record. So he has the two losses to Alexander Volkanovski. His last loss, I believe that he won. He lost that via split decision. I believe that he won that via split decision, but that's here or there. Many people believe that he lost. So that's that. And prior to that, he defeated Frankie Edgar. He lost to Dustin Poirier for the interim title where he moved up. But before that, he was on a huge tear. He beat Brian Ortega, made him look like a punching bag. He defeated the Jose Aldo that was undefeated for 10 years. He defeated Anthony Pettis, who just left to the Bellator. Ricardo Lamas, Jeremy Stevens, Charles Oliveira, Cub Swanson. These names are insane. This resume is absolutely insane. And I'm not going to take anything away from Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar is a beast himself, but I think that Max Holloway is going to come back to himself, get the job done, and show the world why he is one of the best flyweights of all time.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people buzzing around saying that Max Holloway's fall off, like he's done. Like, I disagree completely. I think Max is either approaching still or is just about at his peak. I mean, he's just a very well rounded. He's amazing standing up. He's very well rounded on the ground. Like he is like a real definition of a mixed martial artist. Even though he has two losses, coming out from like he had an insane win streak. What was it, like 12 fights, I think, or something like that. He had a very, very long win streak
Yeah.
after that loss to Connor. He showed I was at first I wasn't much of a fan of Max Holloway, but Max proved me wrong again and again. And I eventually got into Blessed Express.
Yeah,
So
Max Holloway pulled up the Bless Express. You're like, yeah, choo choo.
yeah, man. So I think Max Holloway has the experience to get his hand raised. Like you said, he has beaten a lot of veterans. He also has been in a lot of 5 round fights, which Calvin Kattar has not been. I think it's going to be a very exciting striking match. I think it's going to come down to who has the better boxing, who's more precise, who has the better timing. I think it's going to be a very strategic striking match. But I agree with you. I think Max Holloway gets his hand raised in this one.
Yeah, some people believe that Max Holloway is one of the best boxers, not even in the division, in the entire UFC. But to give Calvin Kattar credit, he has 11 wins either by KO or TKO. So he's a beast himself. We saw in his last fight he defeated Dan Ige, I thought, pretty decisively. He defeated Jeremy Stevens, a heavy striker, and then that fight with Zabit Magomed Sharipov. The first two rounds, it was Zabit was able to do whatever he wanted, but the third round, when Zabit started slowing down a little bit, we saw the true Calvin Kattar. So it's going to be interesting to see. Would I be surprised if Calvin Kattar gets the victory, gets the job done? I don't think so, but I feel like at this point in their careers, I think Max Holloway just he's something special, you know.
I agree with you 100% there. So moving on, the next big fight that's going to be taking place is Neil Magny versus Michael Chiesa. That's a fight at welterweight, another very great matchup in my opinion. Both fighters are coming into this fight with 3-fight winning streaks, and they're very large for the division. Neil Magny has a 5-inch reach advantage over Chiesa, which I think is going to give him an advantage in the striking department, which is where I think is more favorable for him. Michael Chiesa is a phenomenal grappler. He's a brown belt right now in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. There's a lot of people both in the Jiu-Jitsu world and MMA world that agree that he competes at a black belt level. Like that's how just amazing he is. So yeah, John, how do you think this one's gonna go?
I First of all, I just want to say that I think that this is a phenomenal fight. It's we basically have a pretty diverse striker against grappler, if you want to call it, Michael Chiesa. Michael Chiesa has 11 wins via submission. So I see this fight going in Michael Chiesa's way. I feel like he has what it takes to get Neil Magny down and submit him. He has 11 wins via submission, excuse me. But what makes me think that he's going to win this fight is just looking at his past performances, specifically with the fight with Diego Sanchez. And I know people are going to say it's Diego Sanchez, not the same Diego Sanchez that we're accustomed to seeing, not the same Diego Sanchez from the Ultimate Fighter, but just the way that he was able to dominate Diego Sanchez made him look like literally a child. I like he won me over with that fight. So
his IQ has definitely grown a lot. You can tell.
Yeah,
his fight IQ.
Yeah, and Neil Magny has several losses to submissions, excuse me. So I feel like Michael Chiesa has what it takes to get the job done. And let's not forget that this fight was supposed to be the co-main event of the evening, but it was moved up to the main event of the evening when Khamzat Chimaev's fight with Leon Edwards was canceled, unfortunately, because Khamzat Chimaev got the coronavirus, and that had some types of lung complications afterwards. So we wish him a speedy recovery. But this is a great fight to take its place.
Yeah, stylistically, it's a great matchup. Like you said, striker versus grappler. But Magny he's not I wouldn't say a white belt in jiu-jitsu or his grappling. He is familiar on the ground, so it's not going to be easy for Michael Chiesa necessarily if he takes it to the ground. But I definitely agree with the fact that Chiesa should try to take it to the ground because I think that's where he's going to be a lot stronger.
Yeah, to give Neil Magny credit, he does have great takedown defense. So when he fought Anthony Rocco Martin, Kayla Harrison's ex-boyfriend, he was able to stand on his feet. He was able to strike, and he was able to win that fight. So maybe he has what it takes to not get taken down and not get submitted. But I'm gonna go with Michael Chiesa on this one, man.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Okay, so moving on to the event that people are most excited for in January, the Notorious one returns. Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier for the second time. What are your thoughts on this fight?
So Conor's back, man. The money fight is back. Finally, a year later, we're seeing Conor back in the ring after he beat Cowboy last January. I'm excited for this rematch. I think timing wise, this is the perfect time to make a fight like this. These two matched up back in 2014. Both were very young in their careers. They were fighting at featherweight at the time. This is now taking place at lightweight. Conor is, I don't like to root for Conor as much as I used to just because of the hype train, but I feel like this is a fight that Conor is going to win again. As we saw back in 2014, Dustin Poirier didn't really put up much of a fight. Kind of just got washed, knocked out.
Yeah, but since then, Dustin Poirier won 10 fights after he lost to Conor McGregor in 2014. He was able to get the interim belt. He was able to be top in the division.
Yeah. So what I was getting at before,
When Conor McGregor was sipping on his proper 12, Dustin Poirier was hitting the weight room. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. So what I was gonna say is since that fight, both of the fighters have grown, but I think Dustin Poirier has grown a lot more exponentially than Conor has. Conor came into their first fight kind of as a amazing striker. Dustin Poirier, is kind of a beginner mixed martial artist. Since then, Conor has, refined his striking, gotten a little bit better at the grappling. But Dustin Poirier has gotten much better in the striking department, much better in the grappling department. His cardio's increased phenomenally. Like, Dustin Poirier has definitely made bigger strides since that fight, in my opinion, than Conor has. But that being said, I think Conor has an advantage. I think his striking is far better than Dustin Poirier's. And I also feel like the mental games Conor plays is going to get in under Poirier's skin. And I feel like that's going to, be a factor in this fight.
That could be a factor for sure because listen, fighting Conor McGregor, it's a lot of pressure. So we don't know how we don't know how Dustin Poirier is going to react. But I just want to read off some of the names that Dustin Poirier was able to the names that Poirier was able to defeat since losing to Conor. So some notable names: he was able to defeat Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis, Jim Miller, Bobby Green, Joseph Duffy, and the list goes on and on. So Dustin Poirier is a different type of fighter. But with that being said, we don't really know much about how much Conor progressed because Conor is coming off a win where he defeated Donald Cerrone via like a shoulder strike in 40 seconds. I don't know what the hell that fight was even about. Prior to that, it was Khabib Nurmagomedov when Conor tapped like tap machine. And then before that, he beat Eddie Alvarez to get the second belt, and the two fights with Nate Diaz. So it's kind of hard to judge Conor McGregor because we haven't really seen Conor consistently fight. And also Conor is just bigger than the UFC at this point. So we don't know how hungry he is. We don't know. Yeah, he just has so much money. He has proper 12. He has everything going for him.
How much money is enough money? How much money is enough money?
Exactly. So we don't know. Thinking about Dustin Poirier, I'm gonna say this first. I think that Conor McGregor is gonna win because I don't know. It's just Conor McGregor. It's hard to bet against him. He just has something about him that I don't know. It makes him a special fighter. But with that being said, Dustin Poirier, in my opinion, he's a very strong-willed fighter. If you look at that fight with Hooker, he doesn't give up. He could be bloody, he could be injured, he could be losing. He's not gonna give up. He's gonna give everything. He's just gonna keep going. He's gonna
he
keep
definitely
going.
has a lot of heart.
So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But I guess I'm gonna side with you, and I'm gonna go with the notorious one, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to be as one-sided as the first fight, but I do think Conor is going to, have his way unless it goes into the latter rounds. I think if Conor isn't able to get Dustin out in the first two rounds, I think Dustin is going to get his hand raised just because his conditioning.
Cardio.
Yeah, he doesn't have the conditioning to go into the later rounds, whereas Poirier is very, very good conditioning at this point in his career.
So what you think is that if this doesn't go to decision, you're saying that you think Conor is probably going to knock him out or TKO?
Only if it's within the first two rounds. I think if it goes into the third or latter rounds, I think Poirier is the tide is going to turn and we're going to see Poirier take a lot more advantage, even in the striking, I think.
This is going to be a freaking war, man. This is going to be a freaking war because Dustin Poirier is going to make it a war. He's a savage, bro. He's not scared to fight. And let's see how the pressure affects him. But I don't think the pressure is going to affect him. He just fought Khabib Nurmagomedov.
But it's different. Khabib doesn't talk shit. Conor talks shit. He gets
but Conor is not really talking shit right now. Conor is being weird and not saying anything,
haven't really had a press conference though, to be fair.
What do you think? He's gonna go crazy in the press conrance?
I don't know about crazy. We're definitely not gonna see Dolly throwing Conor again, but Conor loves to talk shit. That's how Conor became Conor.
Just your age. You're 40 years of age, mate.
Yeah, man. So I'm excited for that one.
Yeah. So, okay. Yes, that's going to be a great fight. But prior to that fight is the co-main event of the evening. Another very, very highly anticipated fight with Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker. How do you see that fight going?
Yes, sir. So this is another very, very very good matchup. I mean, stylistically, rankings wise, I mean, Chandler is making his UFC debut finally after, being signed a little bit over a month ago, maybe 2 months at this point.
When they were, about 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago.
Yeah, so I think Hooker is ranked about 5 or 6. I believe it's 6. I think this is a perfect place to test where Chandler is in the division. Chandler was a champion coming from Bellator, so we do know he has a lot of great skills, and the argument always
He
is
was the
how much.
face of Bellator.
Yeah, and the argument always is how good are the Bellator fighters compared to the UFC fighters. I think Michael Chandler was definitely ahead of most fighters in Bellator, but I think just to put him in the middle of the lightweight rankings, I think will give us a good idea of where he belongs. Now, Hooker has been another great fighter. Actually, another fighter who initially in his early career I didn't think much of, but he's another one that proved me wrong. He's improved tremendously. He's training over at City Kickboxing with Volkanovski and some of the other savages out there. So we are seeing him make tremendous improvements. Yeah, man, I don't know. I think Hooker's pace is going to be very interesting to see, but Chandler is very explosive. So I think Hooker's chin is definitely going to get tested here. Chandler is very explosive in my opinion. I think he's a little bit better in the grappling department. So I think if Chandler wants an advantage, he should kind of try to grapple against the cage and try to impose a lot more ground and pound. I feel like that's his strong suit. And, Hooker's, I think one of his best tools is just his pace. He constantly keeps the volume up. We saw in his fight with Poirier, they went all 5 rounds. It was a 5-round war. And I actually think this fight is going to be very similar, at least excitement wise, to the Poirier and Hooker fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with everything you just said. I think that this fight is going to be a test for both fighters. In the case of Michael Chandler, he's coming to the UFC. He's given a top number 6 opponent. So if he beats this opponent, he belongs in the UFC. He belongs to be fighting eventually for the title. With Dan Hooker, he's coming off a loss to Dustin Poirier, and I feel like this is going to be a test for him. So if he beats Michael Chandler is not no joke. He's not no scrub. So I feel like if he defeats Michael Chandler, he's in talks to be in the top 5 to be fighting against for the belt very soon. So I believe this is going to be a very exciting, very explosive fight. As you mentioned, they're both very explosive fighters. I'm going to side with Michael Chandler on this one because Michael Chandler, the one thing that gives it away for me in this fight is that his wrestling pedigree. Michael Chandler is a phenomenal wrestler. He's a phenomenal. He has a phenomenal college wrestling resume. So I feel like Michael Chandler is going to be able to take him down, and he's going to be able to either. I predict a TKO finish, sometime maybe in the 3rd or 4th round.
All right, we'll see.
That's my prediction right there for you.
I honestly don't even know.
Or decision.
I'm not sure who wins this one. I mean, they're both very great fighters. I can't.
Okay, you're on the spot right now. Who do you pick?
Fuck. I kind of want to say Chandler just because of his explosiveness. And I don't know if Hooker, his chin can handle it. But then again, if Hooker wins, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Just both of them are amazing. I don't think there's a wrong answer here.
He's a weasel. But yeah, man, this is gonna be a very exciting fight for MMA fans. This is
starting off the year right.
Yeah, this is a dream come true for us because every single week, these past few weeks, we really haven't really had anything to watch. There was Ryzen, there was boxing, Ryan Garcia, which we're gonna touch on in a little bit, but there hasn't been any UFC, so it's kind of been a little sad. So now we have some UFC to look forward to, and not just regular fights. We have some insane fights to look forward to. So I'm excited. Happy New Year, Eric. This is going to be a great year for you and me and inside the clinch. So buckle up, everybody.
Don't forget to like and subscribe on all platforms. Really helps us out a lot. And tune in every week.
So our boy Johnny Bones Jones is back in the social media column, back on Twitter with his Twitter antics. I don't know if you've seen what he's written on Twitter recently. Have you?
Yeah, I did see. I mean, he sounds very salty, very sarcastic, but why don't you just read it off for the fans?
Yeah, I'm gonna read it off for the fans, and I'm gonna let them judge for themselves. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so Jon Jones first tweets out. He says, I left that light heavyweight division because I was terrified of Dominic, even though Jan was guaranteed the next title shot. And then once the middleweight champ suddenly moved up, I knew I had made the right choice. Glad I decided to go the easy route. And then he says, I didn't leave the light heavyweight division to challenge myself. I ran out of fear. Yep. And then the third tweet says, yep, you couldn't see me Yep. You couldn't see myself beating Jan. His style is like nothing I've ever seen before. And the thought of fighting a middleweight striker in 21 was the final straw. Figured Francis' takedown defense was worse. Had to run. Obviously, there's a lot of sarcasm coming from the GOAT himself. What do you think of all this Twitter gossip going on?
I don't know. Lately, he's been kind of reminding me of like Conor. Conor seems to like get drunk and go on these Twitter rants. Now, lately, Jon Jones, I don't know if alcohol is necessarily involved, but he's been going on these like angry Twitter rants. I mean, I agree with what he says. I don't think he ran from the light heavyweight division. One thing I am curious about though is why he didn't try to be a 2 division champion, but I don't think he ran from Jan or Adesanya.
I think I think he I think the to answer your question for why he didn't want to be the 2 division champion is because once he moves up to heavyweight, he's gaining the weight, right? He wants to be a bigger fighter. So coming back to light heavyweight, in my opinion, is going to be a tough task for
Yeah.
him. So I feel like that might have been why he chose to move up instead of defending two belts at the same time.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a valid reason. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he could. The only fight that interests me at light heavyweight still for John is Israel Adesanya. And again, if that fight doesn't happen in the near future, I don't think I want to see it at all because I don't want that fight to be when Jon Jones is 40 years old and like halfway retired. You know what I mean? Like this fight needs to happen soon, or they just need to forget about it.
Yeah. So there are a lot.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I don't think I agree with John with his sarcasm. I don't think he ran away hiding from the division. You know, he did go up instead. It's not like he went down in the weight division like some fighters do. You know, he went up to the biggest and scariest division. So I don't know. I kind of agree with John here.
Yeah.
I don't
So
like his tone, but I agree with what he says.
yeah, Jon Jones being a little bitch as usual. Whatever. What else is new? But yeah, Jon Jones, his last fight with Dominic Reyes. Many MMA experts believe that he lost. So many people believe that Jon Jones is leaving the division because he's scared to rematch Dominic Reyes. What's your reactions to that? What's your response to that?
Dust, bullshit.
Dust,
It's
massive
nonsense.
dust.
It's not true. I mean, I think that fight happens again. I think it'll be a lot more different. But seeing what happened to Dominic Reyes right after that Jon Jones fight when Jan just completely demolished him, I mean, that kind of
Yeah,
derailed the hype train for Dominic Reyes.
did
I
not see
would
that
be curious to
happening.
see Jan Blachowicz versus Jon Jones, but I just feel like stylistically it just favors Jon Jones a lot. I feel like it's gonna
This
look
is
more like the old Jon Jones.
this is nothing that Jon Jones hasn't seen. Like he fought Thiago Santos. Like I don't think John is a better fighter than Thiago
I
Santos.
think he might be a harder hitter. I think that one thing.
Thiago Santos is a pretty hard hitter himself. So, but Jon Jones throughout his career, he's faced good wrestlers. He's faced good strikers. He faced good people in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's faced everything that there is. Not obviously not everything, but he's faced the top dogs in the division for so long now. So I don't really see how the argument of him being scared makes sense. I understand that he's declining a little bit. He's not the athlete that we're accustomed to seeing. Not the same Jon Jones as he was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's still a Jon Jones. I feel like he still has the same mentality. I feel like he himself believes he's still that same fighter. So I don't see how him moving up shows any sort of weakness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with you. And also one more tweet from John this week that I thought was really funny. He tweeted at DC and he said, Stipe is your rival and I'm your superior. And I just want to say facts, baby. I mean, Jon Jones is his superior. You know, he sunned him pretty much both fights. And, you know, I love Jon Jones.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing DC could even say back at that. I mean, maybe he could bring up the PEDs. But that's about it. But yes,
That's it at that.
Jon Jones defeated him twice in a dominant fashion, knocked
That's
him
his
out.
daddy.
That's his daddy. And after the fight, as we saw, DC had some tears to show. And obviously, we feel a little sorry for DC. I know you
I
don't,
don't.
but yeah, Jon Jones is his daddy, and he's forever going to be his daddy.
Yep. So another one making a lot of noise in on Twitter these days has been Dylan Danis.
Yeah, so he was just on a podcast with Nelk Boys. For those of you that don't know who the Nelk Boys are, there was a video that was going around viral about a month ago on Fight Island when this guy comes up to Khabib and says that basically he wants to learn how to do mixed martial arts to beat up Jorge Masvidal because Jorge Masvidal hooked up with his girlfriend. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, that was a hilarious video.
So that's the guy
Maybe you
that
need dog.
yeah. So that's the guy that he was on his podcast, and there's two takeaway messages that I took from that whole interview. So first of all, what's going around in the media is that Dylan Danis says that he could beat Khabib in a grappling match, and not only could he beat him, but it's going to be easy work. What do you think about that?
Another clown. I mean, Dylan Danis does have amazing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's I think 1-0 or 2-0 in Bellator with the submissions, being his win. He's very well respected in the BJJ community, and rightfully so. But there's a big difference between Brazilian jiu-jitsu for 10, 15 years and a lifetime of, Dagestan wrestling, sambo, like wrestling, like it's completely different. I mean, Khabib has literally been grappling since he was a child. He's been grappling
Yeah,
with bears.
he literally like hopped out of the womb and started just wrestling
Yeah,
people.
right on the mat.
Literally how it went, bro. I'm sure by like age, not even age, like month like 6 or 7, he's already wrestling something. Like
Yeah, I think
Abdul
Khabib is
Manap
just,
just fucking trained him and
he
since a
built the
very
eagle.
young age.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, Dylan Danis is a great submission artist, but like I said, I think the lifetime of experience that Khabib has is a huge factor. And one thing, if you pay attention to all of the people after they fight Khabib in their post-fight conferences, they're all amazed at how strong Khabib is. Khabib is huge for 155. He cuts a lot of weight to get down, and we know we've seen those miserable weight cuts for him. So, once he balloons back up to like his walking weight, he's very big and very strong for the division. That's, I think, one big factor that gives him an advantage in lightweight that a lot of people didn't talk about. Dylan Danis is around the same weight class. So, considering the superiority in grappling and Khabib's strength, probably strength advantage, I think Khabib would out grapple him, unless it was specific like jujitsu rules maybe that favored Dylan Danis. I think if it's just a traditional, kind of see who taps out first, I think Khabib gets his hand raised in that one.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Dylan Danis obviously is a phenomenal grappler, phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner. But when facing Khabib Nurmagomedov, it's a different type of opponent.
Yeah.
I don't know if Khabib would be able to necessarily submit him, but I feel like in regards to like points, in regards to winning the match, I feel like Khabib has the power, the experience, the technique to beat Dylan Danis at this point. And for Dylan Danis to say that it's not only that he's going to beat him, but it's going to be easy money or whatever hell he said, I feel like that's absolutely ridiculous. And Dylan Danis is a clown for that. So I'm going to play you another clip of Dylan Danis, and you let me know what you think of this.
Sure.
Sorry, some technical difficulties.
He's yeah, I don't know. We can get into that, but it would bet my soul and everything that I have in my possession that he would beat him on the second time.
That's crazy. Khabib is a beast, though, bro.
He's a beast, but yeah, I don't know. We can get into that, but yeah, would bet my.
Yeah, so that's...
I wish I had enough to offer Dylan Danis to match his bet. I mean, he's probably a little better well off than I am at this point, but I would take that fucking bet against him. There's no way Conor beats Khabib, and I think they can fight 100 times, and 100 times Khabib will wash Conor.
And to bet your soul on that fight, a fight that in another point in this interview, he was basically saying that Conor was putting on a great fight. He was saying that Conor was looking outstanding. People say that Conor won that one round, but if a regular person looks at that fight, it's going to be evident to see that Khabib smashed this guy.
Smash everybody, brother.
He messed with him. He screwed him, and he did whatever hell he wanted the whole fight. So Dylan Danis, this is just the role he plays. He plays the heel. He plays like the villain, the asshole that everybody hates.
One thing I don't get about that, he never does it to people in Bellator. He'll call out boxers. He'll call out people in the UFC. He'll call out people in Bellator that aren't in his weight division. But he calls out people that fights that aren't going to happen in the near term. You know what I mean? Like people different weight class, people in different organization, different sport. Like I don't get what he's trying to do.
Yeah. So it's what do you think of him and Jake Paul? That's been going around social media. What do you think? Do you think he has enough to take on Jake Paul?
I think he needs to answer that in the ring, win or lose. I mean, he got violated. I mean, Jake Paul literally pulled up on him and just violated him during a live interview. I mean,
the Food Truck Diaries, Brendan Schaub. Yeah, that was insane. And people thought that Brendan Schaub was, involved in that. But Brendan Schaub went out to say that he's a grown man and he has no. It's ridiculous to even think that he was a part of something like that. But
No, I don't think it was orchestrated. I mean, Jake Paul obviously orchestrated, but I don't think the rest of them were in on it.
yeah, nah. All right, so to wrap things up, this Saturday, in front of 6,000 fans at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Ryan Garcia defeated Luke Campbell in the 7th round after being knocked down in the 2nd round. And then after the fight, he calls out Gervonta Tank Davis. So you, being a boxing expert, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure thing, man. So, seeing Ryan Garcia get dropped in the 2nd round was very, very shocking. I mean, he's been this young prospect coming up, has been looking phenomenal. So he went down, took a big shot. I'm kind of surprised to see that he even recovered from it. He got back up. I think it's safe to say he won the rest of the 2nd round for whatever time was left. But I think this was a very, very technical fight on Ryan Garcia's, and he ended up winning in the 7th round with a TKO from a body shot. Campbell just couldn't get up. In a post-fight interview, he was saying he was trying to get up, but he just physically couldn't, get himself to stand up. One thing I want to say, Ryan Garcia did have a nice performance, but one flaw that I really saw stick out is his lack of head movement. I feel like he stays in the dead center, and he was getting hit with a lot of big shots. I'm almost surprised he didn't get knocked down more than once. He was taking a lot of big shots that could have been avoided. He doesn't seem to move his head that much. He kind of just stays in the center, and you heard his coaches kind of telling him to get off the center. You heard the commentators, saying something about that. And he was also pretty flat-footed. Like, he doesn't move around as well as someone you think at that weight class would move around. You know what I mean? Usually the lighter weights are very fast. They're hopping on their feet. They're in and out. I feel like I don't know, maybe it was just this fight. I feel like he was very flat-footed and didn't move out of the center. And like you mentioned, he called out Tank.
Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, Gervonta Davis. And I mean, Tank is a savage. He has that crazy knockout power. He only really needs one punch and you probably won't get up. So, I mean, I really hope if that fight does get put together, that Garcia works on his footwork and on his head movement, because I mean, he cannot take those same shots from Davis that he did from Campbell. But another guy that's been also calling out Ryan Garcia is Teofimo Lopez. So for those that don't know who he is, he recently defeated Ukrainian champ. My brain is going blank. Vasily Lomachenko. He defeated Vasily Lomachenko and became the unified lightweight champion. Oh, sorry, not unified. He has 4 of the belts. The last belt is now Garcia has it. He has the interim belt. But, he would like to unify, of course, all the belts at lightweight. So Teofimo Lopez is actually calling out both Garcia and Gervonta Davis, and he's claiming both of them are ducking him and they're too scared to fight him. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how this division plays out in boxing. Any of those 3 fighters, any way you match them up, I think it'll be very interesting for the division and for the sport.
Yes, I agree with you. And that was our boxing expert's take. Eric Ace's take on Ryan Garcia. So before we wrap things off, guys, I just wanted to ask you guys to please follow us on our social media platforms. It's Inside the Clinch MMA for Instagram, Inside the Clinch MMA Podcast for Facebook. For Twitter, it's ITC MMA Podcast. And for YouTube, it's Inside the Clinch MMA. Search us, like us, subscribe to us, share our podcast with your friends. Follow us on our channel. We don't only talk about podcast stuff. We talk about everything related to MMA, all the news, all the leading storylines, everything. So thank you guys so much for the support, and we'll hear from you very soon.
Happy New Year's, guys. Thanks for tuning in.